Welcome to Convention of States, a project of citizens for self-governance. This presentation, Executive Powers, Executive Orders, was presented by Convention of States volunteer Bob Grau on December 21st, 2016. Executive orders are legally binding orders given by the President, acting as the head of the executive branch, to federal administrative agencies. Executive orders are generally used to direct federal agencies and officials in their execution of congressionally established laws or policies. However, in many instances, they have been used to guide agencies in directions contrary to congressional intent. Executive orders do not require congressional approval to take effect, but they have the same legal weight as laws passed by Congress. The President's source of authority to issue executive orders can be found in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, which grants the President the, quote, executive power. Section 3 of Article 2 further directs the President to, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed. To implement or execute the laws of the land, Presidents give direction and guidance to executive branch agencies and departments, often in the form of executive orders. Well, let's begin by looking back at the growth of presidential power and the use of executive orders. The following had great influence on the formation of our government. John Locke, English philosopher who wrote 2 treatises on government. William Blackstone, English judge who wrote on the philosophy of government. Baron Montesquieu, French philosopher who wrote The Spirit of the Laws. And finally, the Holy Bible. Various books supporting our government structure. Well, great concepts were derived from the writings from these sources. First, government by the people, republic. Second, limited government, its powers given by the people. Federal government, state and national powers. And separation of powers, legislative, executive, and judicial. And finally, the Declaration of Independence was the basis of our Constitution. 27 signers of the Declaration had seminary degrees. 4 times in the Declaration, these men acknowledged a divine creator in that document. This was also noted in the following quotes in the founders' beliefs in establishing our government. John Adams, quote, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other, unquote. The next from George Washington, quote, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. It is impossible to govern rightly without God and the Bible, unquote. And finally, quote from the U.S. Supreme Court, 1892, Holy Trinity Church versus United States, quote, it is impossible that it should be otherwise, that our civilization and our institutions are emphatically Christian. This is a religious people. This is a Christian nation, unquote. A little-known monument exists demonstrating the beliefs of our forefathers. This monument to our forefathers is located in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and was constructed in 1889. The central figure is faith, with a foot on Plymouth Rock and left hand holding an open Bible with the right hand pointed to heaven. On each side were four important founding concepts: morality, education, law, and liberty. A civil society was based on family, government, and church. The founders' belief in the Holy Bible and the principles of the Christian religion were central in their creation of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Executive powers stem from Article 2 of the Constitution. Quote, "The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America." Well, we have seen the executive power grow over time. Some reasons for this: first, the personality of a single person versus Congress, the use of mass media to call attention for action on policies, our nation's increasingly complex social and economic life. Our nation has become more industrialized and technologically advanced, and people have demanded the federal government play a larger role in transportation, labor, civil rights, health, welfare, communication, education, environment, etc., and looked to the president for leadership in these matters. Also, the need for decisive action in times of national emergency. And finally, Congress has, in fact, passed numerous laws to strengthen the president's hand. Well, let's identify the specific executive powers under Article 2. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces can make treaties with the consent of Senate, approve or veto acts of Congress, send and receive diplomatic representatives, grant pardons and reprieves, see that laws are faithfully executed and enforced, and finally, make appointments. Executive powers fall under two types. Executing law is an expressed power, ordinance power, implied power, appointment power, expressed power, removal power, implied power. There are legislative powers under Article 2, Section 3, recommend legislation, message power, State of the Union, budget, economy, veto power, can call Congress into special session, and can adjourn Congress. There are judicial powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. First, grant reprieves, postponement of execution, grant pardons, legal forgiveness of a crime, grant clemency, mercy or leniency, but only for federal offenses, grant commutation, reduce length of a sentence or fine, and finally, grant amnesty, a blanket pardon to a group of law violators. Well, what can we do about this? Well, the very first thing is we can call for an Article 5 Convention of States for the purpose of amending the Constitution. And we can then elect people to the offices of executive and legislative branches who are committed to limited government power. Voters must hold Congress in check through written or oral communication. Voters must hold Congress in check to pass legislation that requires approval of any executive order or agreement signed by the President. And that would be the abrogation of federal law, statute, decree, order, regulation, rule, opinion, decision, or other form, and also to grant the states the authority to directly amend the Constitution, and finally limiting the size of federal bureaucracy. Well, in closing, let's take a look at the top 10 presidents in order based on the number of executive orders issued. And we'll start at number 10, which is Ronald Reagan, 381. Number 9, Dwight Eisenhower, 484. Number 8, Warren Harding, 522. Number 7, William Howard Taft, 724. 6th, Harry Truman, 907. 5th, Herbert Hoover, 968. 4th, Theodore Roosevelt, 1081. 3rd, Calvin Coolidge, 1203. 2nd, Woodrow Wilson, 1803. And number 1, Franklin D. Roosevelt, 3721. Thank you.